Hello, my name's Kevin and welcome to Love Decanters channel. So this is a kind of, no, it's not a book review at all. I'm going to talk about this book, but it is not a book review at all. This is a wine lover's glasses, the AC Hubbard Junior collection. Now, it's quite a fancy book this. Mr. AC Hubbard was pretty rich, and yes, these are some fantastic 18th century glasses and decanters and all sorts of other bits and pieces, but it's not this kind of stuff that you're going to be, unless you've got deep pockets or are extremely lucky. It's not the stuff you're going to find every day. I could probably get about 4 references for my collection out of this, because yeah, it's just on a different scale. Okay, so yeah, if you're looking for that kind of stuff, get this book. Go get the Bickerton book first. You'll know what that is. Look that up. I've done a review of that. But I was looking through it and I looked at the rear title page, and it's got this picture here, and I suddenly realized this is a fantastic picture. So what makes this picture fantastic is that it's called The Toast, and it's from 1824, which is a bit of a black hole, because you're kind of like coming out of the region, coming out of sort of like the Georgian Regency period, moving up to William IV, and I don't have any catalogues for that. I have, in one of my Whitefriars book, I have a catalogue that's supposed to be from the 1830s, and then it's sort of like you've got this little black hole. I've got the absolutely Pellat catalogue from 1838, and then this is quite interesting, this little picture in the back, and allows me to move the date of some things, change some things in my head a bit, and I'd like to share that with you, because original references can be fantastic sometimes. Sometimes the stuff that the manufacturers put out, the flyers with pictures on, are just rubbish, and you don't know how things are used. This is showing you a whole table of glassware laid out, and you can see what's going on the table. People are knocking things over, getting drunk, etc., etc., but you can see how they're doing it more interestingly to me. So I have since then found another picture, online picture of The Toast from 1824, and because it's got that date on it and it's from then, you kind of like, if I'm saying, look, they're using these decanters, it's undisputable that they're using those decanters, because there it is in the picture that was painted at the time, or it's an engraved at the time. So anyway, let's have a look at the picture, and what I'm going to do is we're going to have a look at the picture. I'm going to explain some of the stuff that's in it, and then we're going to have a look at some of my glass where I've tried to match things up, not always successfully, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, because these are the kinds of things that you can find, because I found them and I own some of them, and I've not paid a fortune for them. So anyway, let's get on and have a look at the picture. And this is not the one that's in the book. There's one on, anyway, I'll tell you in a sec, but it's a better quality picture. So here is the picture. We're looking at the Yale Centre for British Art, and it tells you here, George Hunt, active 1820 to 1840, The Toast 1824, and here it is. And luckily this is expandable and I can make it bigger than that. Now, as we look across the table here, let's see if I can get this bit here, this bit here. What we're seeing here is a couple of cylinder decanters with, I think they're supposed to have 2, maybe 3 neck rings, but this might just be the artist's interpretation of them. But normally this type of cylinder decanter, I would be saying 1830 plus, And here we are in 1824. They look like full-size decanters, so I'm going to go with the full-size decanters that I have. My full-size decanters all have 3 rings, but I will show you them. Also, we have here what is clearly a rinser, yeah, because it's got a glass being cleaned in it, but it's got no pouring lips on it. So normally rinsers are like cylinder shaped with a pouring lip on. Now I have seen other pictures with rinsers that don't have pouring lips that are like this, and I can show you the difference between this rinser and the others. I don't have any glasses like this, so I won't bother with the tumbler, but you've got some little wine glasses. I can show you those, and these look to be ale glasses. And if I go across the map, the picture, there's a guy over here, and you can see in his hand here, these are the ale glasses. He's got his ale glass, and in his other hand he's got his bottle of beer. So yeah, they're pouring themselves ale glasses out of bottles of beer. If we scroll out, we've got like a whole scroll in here. So this guy's bumped he's being fed some beer out of an ale glass, and these guys are bringing more in, and he's just bumped it and it's all going everywhere. All these glasses falling off, beer glasses going off. And if you look down here, you've got a cooler. So you'd have this would be full of water, possibly with some ice if they've got an ice house, because they didn't have any way to make ice. They would have an ice house, which would be a partially buried building, and in the winter they would collect ice off a pond or something, store it in there, and then and that would last most of the year, and they would, because they'd kept it together, and they could mine that ice that they collected through the year and use it for things like this. So anyway, and this has got like brass banding around it. These are quite expensive pieces of furniture. I've never seen one this big. Normally they're small and round. So this is a monster cooler. What else is on here? Yes, there was something else. So this has got, a guy's got a bottle of beer. These are bottles of beer here because they've got corks in, can you see? And then this guy here, this is not a cork, this is a stopper. This is a tapered, either Bristol green or Bristol green's not colour, but either dark green or dark blue decanter, tapered decanter with a lozenge stopper. We should normally associate with being earlier, but yeah. But you have got a whole bunch of these decanters here, these cylinder ones with the rings on. There's also some on the table. The ones up here have got funny stoppers. I don't know what's going on with these stoppers, but this might just be a not great interpretation. Yeah, there's also some little bowls of plates, little things. I don't have anything for those, but what we can look at is these decanters, rinsers, ale glasses. There's some wine glasses. Look at this, these little wine glasses down here. So we can look at a few bits and pieces, so I can show you what's going on here and what you can find for yourself. So let's get on and have a look at some glass. So first we're looking at a couple of rinsers. I think these are a bit earlier. So this one has got the typical rinser look to it with, can you see, with the two pouring lips. And then this one is just completely round. Now I've seen two other period references to ones like this, but they're later than 1824. I think one was actually a photograph from something like 1845, an early photograph, and I think the other one was a drawing. But yes, I know that these were used as rinses as well. You can find these. I mean, to tell you how you can find them, I've got a set of 6 of this, so that's how findable they are. And yeah, this style with this is really considered to be like 1810 or something like that. I don't know if this is or not, but it's a nice wear, and where it hits the table is very marked. But yeah, you can find bowls like this quite readily, and they're just ones. I do have another one, I couldn't find it, and it was roasting hot in the shed, which has got panel cutting in it, which might have been closer to what they were looking at. And I'll show you how you use it. Got myself an ale glass, and I've got to do this carefully because I don't want to break my lovely ale glass here, but that's how you are looking at it, and that's why they have these little pouring lips here. Can you see that the stem sits in the ale glass? But those ones, they were just sitting straight in like that. Yeah. Can you see? In fact, they were kind of a bit more like that. Anyway, so you'd have some water in here, and the idea is that you're cleaning your glass in it. So I've heard them called coolers as well, so maybe you're trying to cool your glass, I don't know. But anyway, that's what you do with those, and that's how it was shown. The one like this shape was shown with a glass in it upside down like this. You can hear all that lovely lead crystal. I've got to be careful. I don't want to be like those guys smashing stuff left, right and centre, but anyway. So these are rinsers as well. If they're nice and deep, you can get your whole hand in it. Yeah, that's not a finger bowl, is it? If you can get your whole hand in it like that. Normally finger bowls are about this high. If it's like this, same height as a rinser, then it's a rinser. Okie dokes. So let's move on and have a look at something else. So this is the decanter that I have. That's the closest in pattern to what we're looking at. The ones in the pictures had lines that ran all the way up to here, and then you had this diamond pattern running like this. They had 2 neck rings and a lip, but I think that might have just been the artist trying to take it easy. But they also had different stoppers. They had us, let me pull in another one. So they had stoppers that were more like this. Then this. Focus. There we go. So, but yeah, these could have been exactly almost what he was drawing. I'm pretty certain this one is period because it has some really bad faults on it that wouldn't have passed later if it was a post 1900. These bits here where there's I think the glass dipped here, so when they cut the panels, the dips are still there. And it's not even all the way around, because if you look on the other side, look, it's perfect there almost. And then it reappears again. There's different sizes of fault there as it runs around. That wouldn't be acceptable at a later period. So yeah, so that is the decanter that we had. Also, I'm going to drag out something else. Let me just move these over because I've got something right here next to it. Because the other thing was that, yeah, I'll just drag this off the shelf and put it like that. Was that the decanters were sitting on coasters like this as well. This is I'll move that out of the way. Not I don't know if they were exactly like that, but that's the kind of thing it is. This is paper mache. It's just, you drop that in a bucket of water. But they were all singing coasters. Probably not with these heads on. Quite fancy. This is very, actually from that time period. This little lion's head with a ring through it is very, I've seen it on other things that are from that period, and William the Fourth period. So yeah, it's very kind of classical looking. Anyway, so yeah, that's what you were looking at. These are very collectible. If you see one and it's going cheap, just, can you hear how it's like a piece of rubbish really. It doesn't have to have these heads on it if it's just like this, or if it's plain, whatever. But if it's like a little coaster like this, and it's, you can see all these cracks and everything in it, yeah, that is all good to go. That's what you expect to see, because it is only made out of paper, even though it's over 200 years old. One of the bottles I was pointing out wasn't a beer bottle, because it had a stopper that looked a bit like this. So this is a Hollands. It's got, in fact I've got two. Let me get the other one. I've got a rum one. It's a bit dusty. Let me get that, clean that off a bit. There we go. And normally they come in a 3, but that one, the one that we were looking at, was a full-size bottle, and was much bigger than these are. But this is the kind of thing it is. So it was, hang on, if I zoom out a little bit, I can do something, possibly. So it'd be, from the picture, it'd be that size of bottle, but in that colour. Normally, you would say these are about this one might be earlier, but you'd, because of the way the stopper is, and normally you date these to about 1800, but obviously this is 1824, but there was only one bottle like it, so it might just be that bottle's been hanging around, that's why it's on its own, whereas the others are all as a service. You know, there was at least 6 or 7 cylinder bottles that all look to be from the same service, so they were probably brand new at that time. And this one, like this, was on its own, which might imply that it was old. Just speculating here, so could be talking complete rubbish, but anyway, just giving you some thoughts. But yeah, normally these you date this type of bottle to 1800. I said this is an earlier style stopper, so this would be early, but this is, normally think of this style going out sometime in the very early 1800s. You know, you're normally talking something like this being from, you know, 1780, 1790, and these sort of like being dead by 1810 or so. But anyway, that's what we were looking at, sort of like this type bottle in this size. So we saw some ale glasses there, dwarf ale glasses, and they had vertical lines on them, a bit like all of these do. And I've tried to find one that's a bit like what we were looking at, but I wanted to show you a different way those vertical lines could exist, because obviously it's just, they could have been writhen for all we know in real life wherever the picture was done, but as far as the engraver is concerned, it's easy just to draw a vertical line rather than try to do a line that goes up and twists around on each glass. So anyway, we'll stick with it being a vertical line, and I've got different ways that vertical line could have been done. This is called petal moulding. Show you. So this is a dwarf ale glass, but it's different shape. It's got a little knop in the middle, but it does have this vertical petal moulding. Yeah, like ribs. And these are the petals. And then I've got a rib moulded one. So there's no flat plane between each of the ribs, it's just rib, 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 rib all the way around. you see that? They're all nice early glasses. And this one might be more like what we were looking at, but this is a bit tall. But this is panel cut. Can you see? And this one is 2. But I just thought, because this is probably closer to the size of the bowl, and if this one didn't have a knob in it and it just came in like this, yeah, it would be close to what we were looking at. Can you see? The glasses we're looking at weren't entirely conical like this one. They were a bit, they came in at the bottom, but they didn't have a knob. And that one is also could be like it if it didn't have a knob, but I don't have any that come in at this point here like this and then don't have a knob with vertical markings of some kind. So, but anyway, you have petal moulding, rib moulding and panel cutting would be the 3 ways. The petal moulding is actually imitating the panel cutting. So I just thought I'd explain that. So that's basically a cheap way of doing that. In fact, if I put those 2 together, that is the cheap version of that. Anyway, those are the ale glasses I have. They're kind of like as close as I can get to what we were looking at. I have these 2 wine glasses, which are similar to each other, but not a pair, part of a service together. But anyway, if we ignore the little engraving around the top, you can see here we've got like a bit of panel cutting around the bottom, but the general shape and appearance of these glasses is a bit like what we were looking at. This one's got a broken pontil mark. I'm not sure if this one has. So yeah, this one doesn't, and it's probably closer to what we were looking at from that point of view, because this is 1824 and they were probably polishing out the pontil marks by then. But yeah, this is called ragged pennant, but yeah, the glasses we were looking at didn't have that. There was one that looked like it was a panelled body, but I don't have anything that's like that. So yeah, there was one glass that was on the table on its side that looked a bit different, and I don't know if it was basically showing you this glass from this angle or what, but yeah, this is roughly the shape of glass we were looking at. You're really looking for ones with conical feet, probably with polished pontil marks, a lot of wear, but this kind of shape. So yeah, so that's what I have to show you from the glass. That's a bit like what was on the table. So let's wrap this up. So there we have it. In a way, for a lot of the things, they're what I would expect. Dwarf ale glasses, definitely. I know that shape of dwarf ale glass was being made from sort of probably mid 1700s through to at least 1840s, so not a surprise. The wine glass is what it was. I was just surprised to see that they were all of that shape. There's other shapes, but anyway, yeah, so that was quite nice to see. The surprise was the cylinder royal type decanters, as early being used as early as 1824, because all the books I have say 1830 plus. And what else? And the rinser without the pouring lips. Now, I was under the impression that the round ones without the pouring lips were a bit later, sort of like really 1840s and stuff like that. But there's one sitting, well, a bunch of them on the table being used in an illustration from 1824. And I was expecting to see ones with the little twin pouring lip on each side, the cylinder ones with the pouring lip. But they didn't have those, they just had the round ones without that. So, yes, it was just interesting to see your timelines being twiddled around a little bit. You know, all of it's stuff that I've seen before, but just the timeline is interesting. So I think I'm going to wrap up with that. I'll give you the link to the reference, the online reference for the picture, also the book as well. And please remember to like and subscribe because it really helps my channel. If I see any more things like this, I'll have a play with them and we can have a look at them. And thank you for watching and have a good night. Good night.